What's up, you little gristle whistlers, huh? You alive, dude? Knock, knock. Who's there? Hopefully you. How you living, man? You believe in ghosts, man? You believe in ghosts? Do ghosts believe in you, though? That's the question. Have you done enough in your life for ghosts to believe in you? You ever accidentally urinate on your ex-girlfriend, bro, while y'all was sharing a sofa while you was sleeping over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana about 9 years ago? Have you ever just wet the bed in your 30s, dude, because you got issues that you haven't dealt with? Huh? You ever covered yourself in baby oil and pretended you was back inside your mother's womb? Ooh, hey, mama. Well, if you have, dude, you're definitely welcome here. This is This Past Weekend. This past weekend. Good morning. It is March 19th, 2017. The year of the, I don't even know what it is, man. Could be a animal, Chinese, probably something they thought of, and shared with the rest of us. I'm Theo Vaughn. This is This Past Weekend. And it's my birthday, man. I'm going to start off and say that. I know we talked about it last week a little bit on here. I was at my brother's home in Baton Rouge, and we taped the episode in his children's. He have three beautiful children, and we taped the episode in their playroom, where they keep their toys and capes and just daytime pieces of adventure. So here I am back at home in Los Angeles, and it's my birthday, man, and it feels pretty good. I'm 37. I am 37 years old, man. I'm an adult male. Made a lot of poor choices, dude. Wet the bed until pretty much, I'd say early 30s, probably some anxiety, fear of nighttime. Actually, I remember as a child, I would get very scared of going to bed and the darkness and anything that it could, that it could hide inside of itself and expose to me when I least expected it. And I remember at night I used to stand on my bed at night because I had a fear specifically of animals. We had a lot of dangerous animals in our neighborhood. I grew up in the stray animal belt. A lot of people know that. And I remember at nighttime that I would stand on my bed and urinate around my bed, around off of my bed, just off onto the floor, because I had heard that animals wouldn't attack if another animal had urinated locally. So yeah. So anyway, that was some of my youth, right there, experimenting with urine and trying to protect myself as a child, and just, I guess, coming through a lot of fear, a lot of fear as a young boy. But yeah, I'm 37, man, and it feels scary a little bit. It's kind of one of the last few years you can kind of say how old you are. And I haven't done that for a while. I've been hiding. I've tried to hide my age. I think I've had some ashamed about it. Just uncertainty. Didn't want people to know how old I was. Felt inferior of my accomplishments, that I hadn't done enough in a certain age. But now I'm trying to embrace it. I'm trying to be where I am. And where I am is 37 years of existence, according to a lot of creeps and a lot of brothers out there really perpetuating the idea of a flat Earth. People saying that we've been living on a flat Earth. Ran into a gentleman today outside of a Whole Foods type of, you know, clean food store, and he was authentic in his beliefs that the Earth is flat. So I had to listen to that for a while. Nice gentleman, though, I will say that. But yeah, man, I'm 37. Had a good day. What did I do? I got up. I went and had breakfast with a friend of mine, a rich friend. They well off and beautiful. They got two beautiful children, and they just have nice hair. And that's one thing about the rich I always noticed growing up. Their hair looked very like it was bought somewhere or sewn in, or like their hair was from France, like they had, France hair. And I remember the rich always seemed, like if you saw a rich dude with bad hair, you were like, this dude ain't rich. He's not as rich as he could be. Because I remember rich people always had nice hair. But anyhow, man, it's my birthday. I spent time with my friend this morning. I went bike riding today. My boy Dirt Nasty out there, and a couple of other buddies. We went bike riding on these motorized bicycles, and they can go up to like about 30 miles an hour. You just press a button, so you're on a regular bicycle, and next thing you know, you were just flying, bro. So we did that in Venice all day. I threw a little bit of that video. If you're on the YouTube watching, I threw a little bit of that video at the beginning. But anyhow, thank you for joining me. It's good, man. I've had some good birthdays over the years. I remember a friend of mine has a 1-year-old child. Now it's older, but at the time it was one, and he had his birthday party at Perry Farrell's house, or Ferry Farrell, the guy from Jane's Addiction, the lead singer. So that was pretty interesting. Go over there, celebrating for a 1-year-old. My ex-girlfriend threw me a surprise party one year. That was very nice. I had a roller rink birthday when I was young, and I remember this young black gentleman came to the party, and nobody knew him. We were children, and he showed up. His mother dropped him off, and he was pleasant. I think Demetrius or Dimitri. He was pleasant, kind of an Italian black kind of name, and he was pleasant, and he enjoyed the party and ate and enjoyed himself and did roller skating. And then his mom came and picked him up, and he went home. And he was not, nobody knew him though. None of the parents knew him, and none of the children knew him. So I guess that's one way to fit in, that is for sure. But I appreciate you guys joining me. What's been going on this past weekend? Really just kind of chilled, man. I had about 10 comedy sets, a lot of joy out there. Oh, I met Charlie Sheen, so that was pretty wild. I worked on this thing called Typical Rick, which is a Comedy Central series with Nick Swartzen and Simon Rex. And it was season 2 of that, and I had a small part on there. And I walk over to wardrobe on the set, and Charlie Sheen is sitting there, the big dog himself, Mr. Tiger's Blood, HIV, the Superman. He was smoking a cigarette, and so I got me a cigarette, and we started chatting and just sharing the breeze and just throwing ideas around. And I had this shirt on that had a picture of Michael Landon on it, and everybody knows I'm a big Michael Landon fan. And Charlie asked me about the shirt, and I told him about my fanship. And then he said that that one time he was escaping out of a rehab facility, and that one of Michael Landon's sons, one of Michael Landon's children, was in the facility. And as he was leaving, he saw the door open to the room of Michael Landon's son, and he asked him if he wanted to go party with him, and that they left out and partied for the weekend. So that was pretty cool, man. And he was really captivating. Great energy, super sweet guy. Just honestly nice as could be. And he looked like he'd been at spring break for about 30 years in Cancun. And it was just cool, man. It was just interesting to just kind of chat with him and just shoot the breeze. What else did we talk about? That was it, man. That was it, dude. And I'll tell you this, they had a couple ladies there on set, and I think any lady would have left with him, man. The dude, he just got that, I don't know. He just had the charisma, man. That charisma. And so that was it. So that was part of an interesting part of the weekend, was just getting to bump into Mr. Charlie Sheen himself. And a lot of times I think on my birthday I feel negative, or just like I haven't gotten things done. And then sometimes I'll remember, think about this, that you were a sperm, bro. Think about a sperm, dude. There's tons of them. You were a sperm, and now I was a sperm. Everybody pretty much was a sperm unless somebody's, doing something different. But now look at me. I'm 6 feet tall. I have hands and arms, and I mean, if anything, I've achieved a lot. I mean, I'm probably 30 million times my original size. I'm really on another level. So even just thinking about that, about how far I've come physically, uh, that's pretty amazing. So that's one thing to even just think about on your birthday, that even just physically, that you've come a long way as a human, as a human. And I felt a lot of joy today because my neighbors made me a nice meal. And I got home and they had made me a meal, and they let me invite a friend, and we went over there and we ate. We had some pieces of London broil, and they had a salad that had all kinds of cranberries and avocados and delectable tidbits and this and that. Things that make your face feel good when you put them inside of your mouth. And we also had a little bit of coconut ice cream. As nighttime set in, we had a little bit of that coconut ice cream, and god damn, that shit oh, just feels like it's just fucking the inside of my mouth, man. I love coconut. I love coconut, man. And when I die, I'd be happy to just be packed in it. Just pack me in coconut and astronaut ice cream. If you've ever had that, it's dehydrated ice cream, and they sell it at museums, and it's a very nice treat to have in a museum or in other buildings elsewhere. I think back to my first birthday in Los Angeles. I was living with two friends. I was sleeping under a man's bed, actually, and I think I've mentioned this before, for $150 a month on a large pool raft. He had one of those pool rafts, and I slept under his bed and up under the edge of his bed. Except for if he was out of town, I would honestly, I'd get into that man's bed. And even though I didn't know him super well, I knew him. We were buddies, but I would lay in his bed, dude, and I would sleep in there. And that's kind of a wild feeling, I think, sleeping in another man's bed and just letting yourself just be natural, like that. Because another man's bed feels like another man. It feels like you being bad, and you just Goldilocksing in a gentleman's, and you don't know. And he didn't make his bed. That's another thing I remember. He didn't make his bed. And getting into another man's bed that he doesn't even make, I mean, it really makes you feel a little bit gutter. It puts it puts the it puts the guh in gutter, dude. You get in there and it's just not the same as if somebody's bed is made and you get in. It feels a little less. I don't think it's homoerotic. I just think it's just nasty. It feels less nasty that way. So yeah, that was my first birthday in LA. I was paying $150 a month and sleeping under a man's bed. And also, I remember my responsibility was we didn't have a refrigerator. And my responsibility was to get us a refrigerator. And it happened to be my birthday. And I finally find a refrigerator on Craigslist. I get the dude to bring it over, get it off of his truck. And I'm trying to be friendly. I'm from the South, and I'm just fucking at least partly friendly. And I say, well, I will. I can get it inside. I don't need any help, guys. I want to be a man. And I'd been going to the gymnasium at the time, and, I might have even been on muscular uppers and stuff that were making me feel strong. So I'm like, I'll get the refrigerator myself. So next thing you know, I'm trying to get this refrigerator. I'm pushing it down this little side alley by the apartments, right up to the back door of the apartment we were staying in. And I get it in the doorway, and it gets stuck. And I'm literally running and shouldering this refrigerator, trying to beat this refrigerator into our apartment. It's all, I mean, the grill thing on the back, or I don't know what it's called, looks like a vent kind of thing, but where the Freon and stuff is all broken up and shit. And I remember just leaning against it at the end and just crying, bruh. Just crying, man, just like a little labia of just like a little labia of the world, you know, just like a not even a strong labia, and just crying. And that was my birthday. I just remember, this is my fucking birthday. Here I am crying, trying to beat a refrigerator in, and into an apartment. And that was a dark one, man. That was a dark birthday. But this wasn't that today. Today was nice and calm and adult. And it was one of those days where I realized I gotta be an adult, man. You know, I don't want to grow up sometimes. But at some point you have to do it. You got to adult. You gotta quit, doing kid shit, man. And I think in the past year I've done some of those things, I quit drinking. Some people don't know that, but I do. I do not drink. I'm 8 months now of not drinking. I struggle sometimes with some cigarettes. They know that. And I struggle sometimes as well with, trying to stay off of pornography, which is a huge issue. And I'd love if people are going to call in next week to give some calls. If you have some issues with that, I'd love to know about it. I want to delve into that a lot next week. I'm going to give you that hotline number right now to leave a voicemail, and it's 985-664-9503. And if you want to call in, if you're struggling with masturbation, masturbatory activities, and I just want to know how you're dealing with it, the ups and downs of it. Also, if you've had some shitty jobs, I might talk about that as well. Because at a certain point, masturbating is a shitty job, man. It's a habit that you get into, and dealing with that pornography and dealing with that. I'm just amazed at how many people have reached out to me and said, "Look, man, I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling with that activity." But I'm feeling fortunate today. I'm feeling better this week, and thinking about what do I need to get done in my life to make me feel, of my age, to make me feel 37. There's a lot of things that have been just sitting on the diving board, that I've been afraid to just kind of throw into the pool, and now it's time to cut it up, dudes. Now it's time to bust some straight up gunt. You feel me? Now it's time to hum this gunt out into the ether. And that's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. And I remember I used to have a lot of dreams of things that I never got done. I remember I wanted to sea-doo around the world when I was young. And I wrote a letter to Sea-Doo at the time, and that's like a jet ski type company. But that was the only one they had at the time. I think it was called a Sea-Doo. Seadoo. Sea-Doo. And you could go pretty far on them. And I used to live along a river, and I would do them there and get on them. And I remember emailing them, writing them a letter and saying, I want to sea-doo around the world. I can do this. And they never wrote back. So I've had some dreams that haven't really come to fruition, I wanted to be a dancer. I'll be honest about that, dude, It's kind of it's a tough thing to admit. I'll admit that. But I wanted to be a dancer. In my 20s, I felt, dude, sometimes I got out of bed and my feet just felt so light. My feet just felt light. Like I could do it. And then I hurt my back, dude. Painting a house and just dangerous, really painting it just in dangerous heat. In over 100-degree heat, and I was wrapped in this visqueen suit because a bunch of bees were trying to get me. And I hurt my back, and that ended kind of some of my dancing dreams. But I still have other dreams, I still have other things that I want to get done. But here I am, 37, Here I am, 37, and I'm looking forward to this year. And I'm looking forward to trying to put some safe pressure on myself so that I can get some things done, man. So anyhow, I want to get into some calls, man. We had some great calls. I appreciate everybody reaching out on the hotline. And that number is 985-664-9503. And I'm not offering advice here, but I will try to offer basic life suggestions based on experiences that I've had. Because I've been out there, man. I've been involved in some dirty things, And I've made love to some busted women out in in the existence, and I've done the drugs and and I've done some naughty things. I'll tell you one time, one birthday I had that stands out. I was with this man, David was his name, and he had two different color eyes. And I've always thought those people were trouble, honestly. When you see somebody and they got two different color eyes, it's not a, it wasn't, they weren't fully designed, I never thought. And this boy, David, we were on this party bus kind of thing, and it was like a tour bus. And I was going to sleep. And he liked to party, and do drugs and do uppers. And he said, "Hey, man, let's go party." It's about 1:30 in the morning. I was like, "Man, I'm tired, man. I can't. I'm tired." And he goes, "Well, I'll go get us some drugs, And this is when I was doing drugs and enjoying drugs. And so I said, "Well, look, man, if you come back with drugs, I'll do them with you. Trying to be supportive." And then I fall asleep. About 4:30 in the morning, this dude rolls back in, and he's got some steroids on him, some testosterone 400, and that's a steroid, Mexican steroid, horse uppers for horses and equestrians. And so he's like, "Let's party, dude." I'm like, "I'm not fucking doing steroids, dude. First of all, they take about 2 weeks to get in your system. So even if we hit a club right now, we're not going to feel the vibe from it, we're not going to feel the." But he had me, shoot him in the ass with these drugs, and he kind of put on some athletic looking gear and went to like a late rave or something that was popping off around 5 a.m. So that was a birthday that I had. That was a bit lonely. All right, man. Let's get into some of these calls, dude. We got some amazing calls that came in. I want to hear what's up. We're about to hit this hotline right here. All right, we got this call from Franklin, North Carolina.
Hey, bro. My girl has 3 really long, thick, bristly hairs growing out of her navel. I plucked one while she was sleeping. The root was really bulbous and girthy and smelled like bone broth. Should I love her or leave her?
Wow, man. Yeah, that's the hairy navel, dude. I haven't dealt with that. I've definitely dated a girl with a very small head for a while. And even, it was almost just like her neck had gotten real fancy at the top and had a mouth on it and stuff. And I remember her head just felt like an adventurous kind of melon. It was about a 3/4 head, maybe, of a regular head. And that made me nervous, dude. I dated a girl her mouth smelled like meat around her mouth. Smelled like different meat. Like she was just hiding carpaccio under her skin or something around her mouth. Or putting some kind of meats or something on her mouth at night. And I know she wasn't. I mean, that's crazy. She didn't even eat beef jerky or do any of those, nothing like that. But she had this very meat, this kind of barbecue-ish kind of feeling and scent around her lips. That made me nervous. I hooked up with this girl one time in South Carolina or North Carolina her breasts kind of felt like shit diapers a little bit. Like a baby, like if a baby has like a poop diaper, you can mold the diaper and it'll stay that way. And her breasts were like that. You could shape them and they would stay in whatever shape you kind of put them in. So that was very baffling. But I never said a word, I never said a word, dude, because I've had things that I'm sure, and do have things that I'm sure women don't like about me. I've had hairy back, had hairy buttocks. Sometimes I get it kind of tended to. They got a Persian lady over here who really hates hair, and she'll go at it for you for about $50 and really attack it. But I used to be nervous, self-conscious that I had hair kind of on my buttocks and back. And I even remember I would walk out of the room backwards. Like if I were leaving a bedroom, if I'd been making love with a lady, and I'm walking out of the room, I would walk backwards like I'm that dude in Silence of the Lambs, but I would like walk backwards like I was Michael Jackson, just like, I gotta go to the bathroom, just walk out of the room like that, dude. Because maybe I was just self conscious about that. Um, I had a fever one time really bad and made love to a woman, and I know to this day that she questions probably the heat that was coming out of my body. It was beyond normal. It was like a 103-degree fever I was fucking at, and that's very intense probably. So I don't know what she thought. Maybe that I had some type of a rabies or that I was just angry, just so angry, to be coming in that hot physically. So I think you got to think about that, man. Like, how many hairs and weird body things do you have? Not to scold you, but to let you know that, dude, you probably have countless deficiencies. Countless, man. We all do. So you can't really hold your lady to that crazy regard, I don't think. Maybe celebrate it. Get her a barrette. Get her a barrette up and just pop a beautiful barrette, like a nice little church brooch for your hair, and put it on those hairs, or gel them down, make a game about it, floss your teeth with them, dude, celebrate it. Maybe instead of, trying to sneak them out of her body while she's resting. And how hard does she even sleep if you're able to pull a hair out of her body? I'd worry about some of her sleep patterns and about some of her hair patterns. And just love her, man. That's what I say, dude. Because here's the thing: if you love her for everything, bruh. If she has one leg or one lip, or or only one, one fucking hat or anything, dude, love her. If you're gonna love her, love her. That's what I say. If you say you're gonna love somebody, then love them. Otherwise, don't bullshit them up top, man. But if you want to mail that hair in, dude, email me and I'll show the hair to people. Just to prove that you're out there doing that, sneaking hairs out of people's body in the middle of the night, bruh. Damn, dog. That's some Boo Radley shit right there, bruh. But I do appreciate you checking in. And I say just embrace her, man. Show her some bad hair you have. And y'all just be fucking hair bears, dog. Hair bear up. Hair bear up. All right, I got a couple of announcements to make. I'm going to cut to a couple more calls, man. First of all, if you're watching on YouTube or iTunes, go ahead and subscribe. Be a subscriber. Rate the podcast. Give me some decent ratings, because I'm trying to get enough listeners where I can have some advertisers. That's just the business side of that. I have some comedy dates coming up. I feel very grateful to have the ability to be at Comedy on State this weekend, March 23rd through 25th in Madison, Wisconsin. And then I'm going to be at the Punchline in Sacramento, April 21st through 23rd. So I'm excited about that. People have asked me about the shop, theovon.com/store. We got some Got Hamps shirts in there. You can still get the album, 30-pound bag of hamster bones. We were doing well on the charts. We're still doing pretty good, but we could pick it up if you want to grab the album. Talking about my boy that I grew up with, this boy named Danny, who had this deficiency in his neck. So I'll talk about that. All right, let's take another call here. And this is from Canada. This is Monica.
Oh, hey, Theo. This is Monica. I'm calling from Vancouver, Canada. And I'm just wanting to get your male perspective on an issue I'm having. So I'm about 27. I've been dealing with depression and social anxiety probably for the last 10 years or so. And last year was especially pretty rough. Probably the last 6 or 8 months I've been really sad and just feeling lonely and just like empty. And on top of that, I gained a bunch of weight. So you just feel so unattractive and you just want to hide away from everybody. But at this point, I've come to the realization that being alone at this point isn't really good for my psyche, and I know that it's time for me to get out there and pick myself up again and get into the dating world. So I guess I'm just hoping you might have looking for some advice from you to, get some confidence back and get my shit together, hopefully, So any thoughts you have would be greatly appreciated.
Wow. Well, I mean, first, look, Monica, I'll tell you this. I love you. I'll say that right out of the gate, you thick little muffin. If you putting on a pound or two, you could just hug me. I bet it feels good. That's the good thing about if you do put on a little bit of weight, when you hug somebody, you're really giving them more joy. You ever hug a bony person? It's like holding on to a pillowcase full of deer antlers. But you hug a real meat dog, or a meaty or stronger or thicker Rubenesque. And that's beautiful. So I want to say first of all that I love you, and I feel you. And it sounds like you're putting a lot on your plate. I mean, you want to feel better, and then you don't want to be alone. And I can sympathize with that. Regarding the weight, I mean, you would be surprised how much getting in shape and getting your blood going makes everything else better. It's specifically your mindset. Like you get a little bit of activity, physical activity, your mind it's gonna start to get in shape as well. And I would try to approach your weight loss not with I have to lose weight or I'm gonna lose weight, but with the idea or the mindset that I'm gonna live a healthier lifestyle. Then it's not just about the weight. And I find that people who approach it that way, that I'm going to live a healthier lifestyle, tend to lose weight and actually keep it off because then they're headed in an overall better direction. And this is going to sound kind of silly, but I promise that this works, right? When you see a food that you want but you shouldn't have, don't say I can't eat that. I would say I don't eat that. That way you are taking ownership. You're taking control as opposed to letting the food take the control, if that makes any sense. I don't eat that. That's way freaking. Then you're like a thug. You're a thug out there. Whereas if you say, I can't eat that, then you are in this kind of. You're being attacked kind of by the food. So I don't eat that. It's a lot more power for you. And I feel like that will just empower you overall. And I think those are some simple things you can do to start moving like a physically healthier direction. And in terms of like social anxiety, I can 100% relate. I mean, I spent honestly about 5 years of my life sleeping in Santa Monica. Just I was depressed, and I would get uncomfortable being in social circles, and I would lay in my bed and I would just sleep, and I would eat peanut butter and jellies during the daytime, and I would hope for the best, but not act for the best. And I thought that one day I would just wake up, or from some nap I would just wake up and suddenly the world would be better, or I would feel better. But that never happened. I mean, all I really did was push my problems like 5 years down the road. And there's no magic way to make yourself feel comfortable, like in a social setting. I mean, I think one thing that does help is just trying to make each time you're in a social setting a little bit better than the last time by making more effort. You know, Introduce yourself to people. I think that's the best thing. Just, hey, I'm Theo. Hey, I'm Monica. Like, because immediately you're taking ownership. You're taking control of the situation. And even if they don't respond well, at least then that's them being antisocial. That's not you being antisocial. And also try to find areas maybe you could be looking in the wrong circles. Like, dude, I went to nightclubs for years, bruh. And it was a bunch of Persian people in there, usually adult men, or very tan, like men that had been in the gymnasium and looked like their muscles were just trying to climb out of their shirt and leave them because their muscles didn't even like them. Like their muscles just wanted to get divorced from their skeletons and just be done with them, And veins blowing up out of their chest and neck, and then a lot of Persian men wearing cologne, heavy cologne. and I would be there, and I would feel like something was wrong with me, you know. But really, everybody in the club, or 90% of the people, were miserable. They were just trying to look like they were having a good time. And one of my problems was I was going to clubs. I was looking repeatedly in the same place for social acceptance, and a place that really I never did like. I never did like clubs, man. I like more of like being around a fire. Um, Fuck, I even scrapbook, bruh. I fucking scrapbook, dude. I'm not saying I'm gonna join some scrapbookers club with a lot of ladies and stuff, but I needed to find other areas to get social in. And once I started doing that, I would just hang out at a comedy club. Those people, it's just a different vibe. Um, there's no great way to do it, but you got to make an effort. And whether that's the next time I go to a party, I'm gonna introduce myself to two people, or I'm gonna pet an animal. You could even start off at a petting zoo. You could start off at a petting zoo and get out there, or meet children. Go to a place where a lot of children are. If you know you don't have any issues with children, and meet children, because they're going to be accepting. They'll be cool, and then just use some of those same skills you learn with children, or even with animals, with adults. And also, like, give yourself permission to be uncomfortable. You don't have to be comfortable. That's another myth. We're not always comfortable, bruh. So give yourself permission to not be comfortable. Oh, I'm uncomfortable. Okay. Instead of like, oh, fuck, I'm uncomfortable. Oh, God. Oh, I'm so uncomfortable. This shirt, it doesn't feel, these shoes, they don't match this. Otherwise, it's like, oh, fuck, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know why. Don't pin the tail on your own donkey if you don't know why you're uncomfortable. I used to do that. Oh, I'm uncomfortable. Bah, 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 bah. But I'll say this. I heard a quote once that insecurity is the belief that this is only happening to us. There's so few feelings in so many people that there's a lot of people who are having the same feelings you are. So you gotta voice them. You gotta share them. Find somebody else that looks awkward as fuck, and boom, that's your first friend. If you feel awkward, find somebody else that's awkward. They're easy to pick out. And then bam, now you'll have dual awkwardness. Two awkwards. You know what they say, two awkwards make a comfort. So I think that could help. I hope some of that shit helps, Be at the library, even though they have a lot of deviant homeless at the library, and a lot of them are, I had some insane experiences when I first got to LA. A lot of homeless, and they do masturbation too at the library. You know that. And Monica, I just want to say I love you. I hope you feel better. Um, you're probably a good woman. You probably are. And if you care enough about yourself to reach out to other people, that's a great start. So you're already doing way better than I was. Those years I was just lying in my bed, just eating peanut butter and jellies, and caught up in the throes of pornography, and just in the darkness. So I'm proud of you there. You got this. Just G up a little. Drink a Red Bull. G up. Even something as little as getting yourself a new pair of sneakers or something like that can kind of, it can just excite you. Some small motivation. And don't do it all in one day. You don't have to change today. You just have to progress today. So progress, not perfection. That's kind of what I'm aiming at overall. All right, we got one more call here from Santa Clarita, California, Spanish Town.
Hey, Theo, I got a question for you. A little bit of a situation I'm in. My girlfriend, she works at a gym, okay? She's a personal trainer. When she first got hired on, I kind of had an issue with her becoming that, being a personal trainer, being that she's extremely attractive.
Okay.
So I knew guys would hit on her. But anyways, I went forth with it, and I let her know, do your thing. And she ended up becoming a personal trainer. And so far, everything has been kosher. Up until today, actually. Where actually, she texted me and she told me, by the way, I was at work today, and the GM of the gym ends up letting her know, like, hey, how'd you get such a nice ass? Which, in my mind, is fucking ridiculous. That's just offensive. You're the GM. You're the general manager of the gym. You don't ask a question like that to your employee.
Yeah.
And from what I know, this is the GM is a generally attractive guy in his younger years. And I just was like, she told me this, which I appreciated. But my question is, I guess, is how would you react to that situation? I mean, you find out this guy's kind of creeping on your girl like that, and I don't even know if it's creeping. I don't know if I should be mad about that, jealous. What should I be, I guess? I don't know. At first I was mad, but that's the question, man. I'm just wondering what you think of it, okay? Let me know.
Awesome, dude. Well, look, thanks for calling in with that, bro. You got some issues there. Your lady's at the gym. The owner of the gym is hitting on her, trying to frickin', attack that gunt from the inside. You feel me? And I respect that. I mean, that's nature. He's just being a part of nature. It sounds like he's being inappropriate. But dude, do you really want a girlfriend that other dudes aren't hitting on? I mean, maybe you do, but I don't think you do. Like that's one of the consequences. If you're dating a chick that's hot or a chick that works at the gym, bro, any gym, it could just be a single barbell in a basement somewhere, in a cavern, and men will wander in there and hit on her if she says she's a personal trainer. There's something sexy about that, about the woman that works at the gym and trying to, be sensual with her. So that's going to happen. So I think you kind of want that. I mean, you want your girl to be attractive. You want other men to want her. I mean, I'll be honest, bro. Right when you even mentioned your girl that he thought she had a nice ass, I wanted to see your girl's ass, bro. And I'm not saying I'm proud of that thought, but I wanted to see your girl's ass, dude. And I wanted to see that ass. I wanted to fuck. I was thinking about it. Man. I was picturing, just whatever her ass looked like, the beautiful little globes and little, just being dirty, bro. I thought about being dirty. So that's the problem with us, man. There's we got sin inside of us. We got that innermost layer of just dirt ball. It's just that dirt ball. It's almost like we have an extra layer of skin on us, and it's just a bunch of dirt ball cellophane, Because we want to be nasty as men, man. I mean, look, I dated a hot chick one time. You know what she did, bro? She fucking cheated on me, dude. So that's what you get, bro. It can happen. It's one of the risks you get. That's why the old school move, date a busted chick and pretend she's hot. That way, if you pretend well enough, you think she's hot, she thinks she's hot, and everybody wins pretty much, I mean, that's one school of thought. And on another level, I would worry less about how you feel about the situation and think about how she feels. I mean, she's getting lurked on by this, as you said, an aging GM who looked better in the past. That's way creepy situation for her to be in. So I would keep your concern right there, just as to how she feels. If she's handling it and she's confident, then you got to show up with that confidence and be supportive right next to her, dude. You can't be getting too insecure. Because women it's not in their nature to want to be with an insecure man. It's not in their nature, bro. Not in their nature. If you put an insecure man, or even an insecure baby, I bet, out in a field, and you put a woman out there who has breast milk in her, and that baby's insecure, he's like, I bet you 3 out of 10 women wouldn't breastfeed that baby. But you put a tough ass baby out there, a little Italian baby, a German baby, then women are gonna want that, because they're gonna feel that security that baby knows what he's doing. That baby's combing his hair. That baby's wearing a gold chain. That baby, I'll breastfeed that baby. Yeah, because if you're insecure about other men being interested in her, then that's gonna make her question whether or not you believe in yourself. And if she starts questioning that, then immediately she's going to start questioning whether or not she believes in you. And I think that's just nature. That's the insecurity food chain, So you want to be secure. That's the place you want to come from. Confidence, see if she's all right, because she's the one who's got to take that ass to the gym and do all the work. I don't even know if you have a job, bruh. You didn't mention you're employed. So I don't know really what you're up to. I mean, I'm supportive of you if you don't have a job, but I'd love for you to be working. But yeah, man, I mean, it's really unwise to ask somebody to be more secure in you than you are. And then I'd let him know. I'd let that dude know. I would let him know in like a weird kind of trill, thug, maybe homoerotic way, dude. Here's what I would do. I would send that dude a letter, the GM dude, and just an anonymous letter. Doesn't know it's from you, doesn't know what woman it's regarding. And I would say, if you keep hitting on my woman, I'm going to track you down and fuck you, bruh. That's what I would say. And I would underline fuck, and I would underline bruh. That way he's going to know you're a little askew. And then I would hashtag let's fuck. That's what I would do. So that way he's like, wait, you don't want me hitting on your girl, or you're going to fuck me, and then you're saying let's fuck anyway. Now this dude is going to be, first of all, that makes you seem way secure. You're so secure in your lady, you'll bang this fucking dude? That's secure to me, man. And second of all, it lets that dude know, shit, if he doesn't want to end up copulating with a man, then he needs to watch what he's doing. And he could be doing that to other women, so that could really stop a lot of his behaviors, man. So that's kind of a beautiful idea. But those are just some suggestions that I have. What else, guys? I think that's kind of it maybe for today, man. It's getting late. Where are we at? It's getting late, bro. And then actually I got one more thing. My mother sent me a card. So I'm going to check this card out. It says, happy birthday. Wishing you a wildly wonderful year. I hope 2017, your 37th year, will bring you happiness and self-satisfaction. I love you, Theo, your mom. Really nice of her to send me that beautiful card right there. My mother doesn't have much, but, she doesn't give up. She wasn't equipped with a lot of, sometimes I don't think, all the emotions that I wanted her to have as a mother when I was young. But she never stops working to try and show me that she cares, even if she can't, and not because it's her own fault, but even if she can't always make me feel like she cares. And I think that's it's pretty remarkable to not give up, man. Hard-working woman out of Illinois, and I admire a hard-working woman, man. But yeah, my mother and I had some, just weird stuff growing up. I just never felt, I just didn't feel her care sometimes, Just got stuck in this care void. But she never has stopped, ever, trying to let me know that she does care. And that's pretty remarkable. It's the best we can do sometimes as people, man. I don't know. I'll take us out with some music. Let me find a good song. I appreciate you guys being here with me for my birthday. I know I'm a little tired. Maybe Sunday night isn't the night to do this. I don't know. I don't know. But thank you also for supporting the album. 30-pound bag of hamster bones. It's on iTunes. We got a new album that's going to come out soon. The material from the Netflix special will be released on iTunes as well at a fair price. I'm about fair price things and that sort of thing, I'm not out here trying to make a buck, but I'm trying to make something of myself. I'm trying to make something of my 37th year. It's going to be wild, dude. Here's I'll Be Home for Christmas. They're good all year round. It's March. It's still good. Listen to that deep voice. That's somebody's stepdaddy right there. That's mustache. That guy's got a big dong and a mustache. Oh man, I met Charlie Sheen too. I'll tell you about it next week. Forgot about that. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, man. See you guys under the mistletoe, huh? Good luck out there, Monica. Keep your head up, huh, boo? All right, boo, boo.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great.
Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
Oh, no!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
What's up? What's up, you little Guatemalans? Huh? You little crispy Yamaguchis? How you feeling, huh? You ever done an 8-ball at a Bass Pro Shop and played Adele's Hello on a duck call? You ever done that? You ever emptied a bunch of ice trays on the kitchen floor and made snow angels at the house? You ever done that? Get all wet? Get your back wet? Well, dry off, bruh. Dry off. Because this is this past weekend. This past weekend. Drop! Yeah! Who wants a drink from Daddy? Buy this album right now in stores. Yeah! 30 pounds of hamster bones. Housed. Yeah, come on, nibble. Housed. Yeah! Housed. I got house in Luana. Back of the truck like I'm Santa. 30 pounds is a scandal. Give him a name that is random. Cute as fuck. Houseless. Ecstasy, come get these mammals. Tatting them up like I'm Batman. Ezekiel blitzing inside. Green Day. Random. Cheryl's name. Random. Tiny Bones. Handle. Vidij. Handle. Who wants a drink from your daddy? Tripping off drip me in transit. What the fuck, Jolie's been handled. Shawshank and Alec, they animals.
Next guy on the stage. I love him.
It. All right, welcome to this past weekend. It is Monday, March 6th. I want to thank everybody who purchased the new album, 30 Pounds of Hamster Bones. Got us to number 2 on the iTunes comedy charts. Really exciting. It's about 2 a.m. It's Monday morning. Monday, March 6th, 2017. You know, I'm always about a century behind. Just got back from Bremerton, Washington. So anybody who came out to the show last night, I appreciate it. I had a nice time. Kind of a naval town. Not the body part, just the service. So a lot of people there in the service, I understand. We had a good crowd. There were about 500 there at the theater. And all ages, man. They had some children in there. And I feel like we really made the most of it. So I want to thank everybody that came out. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you haven't got the album, that's what I was playing right there. It's a new video. You can check it out on the YouTube as well. I made it with Simon Rex, guest stars in it. Your boy Dirt Nasty. And it's just fun. It's like a play on designer's panda and his hamster. So check out the album, check out that video, and good to be here. Oh, let me touch base with what's been going on, man. We did the JRE podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, if you didn't check it out. I was excited, man. I was excited to get to do it. Joe and I don't know each other very well. I don't know him very well. So I was a little nervous, but we had a nice time. And I felt like I got to know him a little bit better. Really smart guy. He knows so much. And it was inspiring, man. It was inspiring just to be able to have a conversation with somebody. I mean, LA to me is the loneliest place. You in your car a lot. Your best friend is a coffee. You know, a lot of people don't date because it's not geographically desirable. You know, I mean, whenever you meet a girl or a guy, you ask them where they live. And if it's not in a convenient area, then the love ends right there. The love stops at the gas money, really, you know? And it makes me think about incest. Like back in the day, you know, some places incest is more popular. But I think, like, if you lived in a rural area, if you walked even, 8 miles, you might only come across family. Back in the day. So I think in some rural areas, you're more likely to have incest because, hell, you go for a jog, even a long run looking for love, the best you might find is a cousin in the distance, maybe a distant cousin. Maybe that's where the term came from. And that's how I think a lot of incest really probably popped off back in the day. You might only meet people at family reunions or at funerals. So I think it was a little more popular. It was a proximity thing. Whereas in a city, you're usually more likely to bump into people that aren't of the same bloodline. So I think in a city, you're less likely to have incest. But definitely it should be, I don't know if it should be a crime. It should be frowned upon. I think these days there's no excuse for not getting outside of your comfort zone. Even if, and that's way too comfortable. If you're, winking at somebody across the room at a family get-together, that's just because you don't know them doesn't make it, Christian or right. So, yeah, so I've always had that thought. Bestiality, that's another crazy thing. I'm thinking about, sexuality right now, I guess. And I've always thought that, yeah, bestiality with small animals, taboo. But you get out there and you fuck a leopard? Is that bestiality, or is that pretty much the dopest shit you could do? Like you catch a hyena or a lynx. Dude, you fuck a lynx and put that on YouTube? You'll never buy a drink again at a bar. That's for damn sure, dude. So I think incest laws keep them in place, but some of these bestiality things, they should fine tune a little bit of it. I catch some dude snuggling up with a lab, or even a black lab, or, even a sheep or a livestock animal. That's fucking cheap. That's dirty. But I catch somebody, dropping a YouTube video of them, making love to a caribou. That's a hero. That dude's a hero in my book. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for supporting the album, man. It's really great. The past week, for me, last week wasn't good, man. I got down in the dumps, dude. I don't know what was going on. I was just hating myself. I got down in the dumps, and I know that's kind of a recurring theme, I guess, with me. But I got down in the dumps. I was judging myself a lot. I was stuck in my head with my thoughts. And I think part of that comes from just being here in LA. You spend a lot of time by yourself. Like people think that comedians, that it's this glorious life where you're around 1 million people, but During the day, I'm taking care of my life and my business. And in the evening, I'm on stage, but a lot of people that are at the shows are on dates. You know, a comedy club is like a date event. So a lot of people there is on dates, and you're not, I'm not the kind of guy that can really bust into a date and change the game, and peel a woman off of their man if they're out with a man. So I'm more of a casual guy. I got to meet somebody, and I did meet this girl also who's Nicaraguan a while back, and we swapped numbers, but she lives in another state, and we don't really keep in touch. So, yeah, so it's tough, man. It's a tough city, Los Angeles, if you really want to find some love. But, yeah, that's how I felt, man. I just started feeling down on myself, and I know that I got to get some of these things fixed inside of me, these things that make me feel less than when I am by myself. Because if I'm not feeling good, I can't, I've touched on this the past few weeks. I can't expect somebody else to fill that for me. I can't think, oh, well, when I meet, Marguerite, or when I meet Cheryl, that's when I'll be the happiest. I got to find a way to be the happiest now and be the most comfortable with myself now. If you got a chance to check out the Joe Rogan Experience that I was on, I was definitely excited. I mean, these days it's a neat thing to be a part of, because he has so many fans, and he has just such a breadth of knowledge of different stuff, and he's a big guy, so there's intimidation there in that sense. But I was excited, man. Him and Jamie that produces over there. It was just neat. It was nice to just spend some time with another man just chatting about stuff. And we talked a little bit about my father. I talk about that a lot on here. I never really had a lot of that man leadership in my life. I never really had much of a mentor. I mean, my father, because of his age, I remember my father would borrow money from me, and I was making allowance money. I was making, maybe if I was lucky, maybe $4 or $5 a week. And I was a saver. I would save my money, and I collected small items that I would find. I was really a little bit of a hoarder. And I used to buy little pieces of quartz and stuff. They had a lady down the street that sold, quartz and magical rocks. And I would get involved, and really, I think I kept her in business for about a year and a half, and buying just different stalactite and all kinds of just shit she had, just because a lot of the rocks, she said, were magical and would make our lives better. So I invested in a lot of that, basically just betterment granite, for lack of a better term. But I remember my father, when, he wouldn't have gas money, so he would borrow money from me, and it probably made me not really think of him as a mentor. And he had this way of always asking me if he ever let me down. Did I ever let you down? And of course I'd always say no, because I wanted him to be happy. Because I knew he was getting so old that I wanted him not to worry about me. So that was, I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have that comfortability around men. And then my brother left off. My brother went to live with my grandparents and dealt with some of his own demons. And so I spent a lot of time by myself in that house, in that apartment with women. And my neighborhood was dangerous. So I just didn't develop a lot of relationships with men. So I think in weird ways, I long for that. I long for some of that connection, to be able to just spend time with another male that's non-sensual and connect, and just talk and feel like we're just fellas, And it's a wild time to be a fella, man. I feel like it's hard to be a man these days. We don't know what it is anymore. A lot of our parents now are divorced or on second and third marriages, and so there's a lot of, it's up in the air as to what it is to be a man. the old definition of men has been attacked a lot by a lot of feminist regimes, and attack, I don't want to say not lesbians, but attack lesbians and soft men that don't want to support or really discuss what it feels like to be a man. I mean, I feel like these days, if you're to get out in the wild and roar, they'll call the police on you, and the cops show up. You're like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to access my manhood. I'm trying to fucking turn my insides into a damn fight club. I'm trying to be whatever it means to be a man. In adult men, I've talked about this before, but adult men are committing suicide at an all-time high, man. So, it's a tough time to be a man, but I'm still out here trying. I think last week I fell off a bit and got a little in the dumps. But when that happens to me, what I try to do is I try and think about somebody who's less fortunate than me. I remember when I was young, they had this boy in our neighborhood named Thundercat, TJ. They call him TJ. I don't know what the J stood for, but the T stood for Thundercat, and they would call him Thunder. And he was born with some deficiencies. He had hair just growing directly out of his face, like one of those, almost just like the dark arts had just, almost like he was just, one of his parents was fucking carpet, he just had this kind of wolf boy, sort of Wookiee kind of thing, just growing directly out of his face, his hair, and that was alarming to people. And somebody said that he was going to die. And somebody said it loud, and I think they said it in church, and so they convinced enough people in our area that he was going to die. So he got to quit school. And his parents bought him a little truck, a little Ford Ranger, and he just drove it in his backyard. They had a small backyard, but large enough to drive a truck around in. And I remember waiting at the bus stop near his home, and he'd just be missing school. They let him smoke Winston cigarettes, and he would be back in his yard, little Thunder, just driving this truck, as a child, just a real hairy kind of child. And before that, I remember the girls at school would always brush him and brush his hair, and they kind of took to him, championed him as like a little bit of an oracle, and we all did a little bit. I remember I used to sneak over by the fence because his family had a chain link fence, and I would sneak over there and give him sliced peaches, feed him sliced peaches through the fence, keep him hydrated and stuff like that. And he would just smoke cigarettes and listen to Fugees, Killing Me Softly. He was listening to a lot. He had a couple of tracks there in the truck, and I remember Blind Melon. He listened to some Blind Melon there. And they thought he was going to die. So, and the reason why he got to not even go to school was because so he could die at home. They wanted him to have some peace, and he didn't have to, struggle with all his lessons and, spelling and all of that, because you're not going to need that if you're dying. And he never did die. His mother had varicose veins, I remember, and she died. And the daddy, this is how they used to make money. The daddy used to do slip and falls at Pizza Huts. And he would sue them, and he would get that money and get that check. And he died. The father died doing slip and falls. He was working the circuit one year, and I think he was near like Sarasota, Florida, and he died. He split his head open on a salad bar. Out there, doing his craft or his work or whatever it was, scamming. But I remember a lot of times when I would feel down in the dumps as a child, I would think about him and what his life was going to be like and what his walk through the world was probably like. Because he kept a good attitude even though he had this affliction, and even though he, as far as everybody was concerned, was destined for death, maybe heaven, hopefully. A child, you like to think that most children go to heaven. But yeah, that was thunder. And yeah, he did. He last I heard, he lived. He was still alive. So anyhow, when I get down in the dumps, sometimes I like to think of somebody that's having a tougher time than I am. I want to appreciate everybody that called in as well. We got some good calls, some basic life suggestions, and I want to offer that out to anybody. If you need somebody, if you need a friend, you need rural or urban advice. That's what I like to refer to it as, because that's what I feel like I can help with. You can call in to the number. It's on my Twitter and it's on my Instagrams. And it's a 985 number. It's a voicemail. You can leave a voicemail, and I'll get to that and address any of those issues or any thoughts or questions people have. And I have some today, actually. I'm going to get to a few right here. And if you're on the YouTubes, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, you can see that I got a desk now and a little bit more of an environment here. And eventually we might get people to call in, but right now we're just dealing with things as they come. So I'm trying to keep my spirits up right now. That's my goal. And I want to thank everybody that came out in Seattle, because that really did. It made me feel pretty good. But I'm going to get into some questions here, man. I'm going to let you know some dates, too, that I got coming up. But first, let's crack into some questions here. See if we can get this. You guys listen up.
Yo, Theo, what's up? It's your baby boy Brian from Auburn, Alabama. I'm calling you from the deep south. I wanted to ask you about what the fuck do you do when you're depressed and you don't know what the fuck is going on with your life? I'm 23. I'm about to graduate. All these kind of good things are happening around me, but man, I ain't been more depressed in my life. And I've seen you on this weekend and all that shit. And I saw you were going through a hard patch now. And I was going through a hard patch, and I just kind of want to hear, what do you do to kind of see the brightness when you stand in the dark, man? Be well.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that, man. It's a good question. What do you do? I'm not trying to get all philosophical. What I do, in the past, I didn't do anything, man. I'll tell you that. I made some poor choices. I would lay in my bed. I would do masturbation. I would do just masturbation until I didn't even have any feelings. I would almost just beat my feelings out of my body via masturbation, And I started masturbation when I was young, and it persisted, man. And that's another thing about, no man ever told me anything about masturbation, man. When my father was young, he was probably on horses, and who knows what the fuck they were doing. I don't even know if they had masturbation then. And my brother was gone. He wasn't there. So I learned it, by watching some pornography videos. And some boy beat me up at the library one time and showed me a bunch of pictures of cooter. That's what he called it. And that boy was beating me and making me look at these pictures of cooter that he had that were all jacked up and had been, probably just looked like they'd been looked at so many times. It was nasty. But what do I do, man? I try to find some faith these days. I try to have faith, that things will be okay. It's hard to tell a guy. You're in college, you're going through those, there's a lot going on in your life, I bet. It's busy, your future probably seems immense. Your possibilities probably seem endless. But also it's probably scary if you're graduating, you're getting out of college. I'll just tell you this, man. You got time to make some poor choices. So even if whatever you're choosing doesn't end up being phenomenal, you can fuck up, dude. You could start a bakery, bruh. You could do French breads and, baguettes and whatever, and fuck that whole industry up, dude. You could burn the bakery down and try to get insurance money. You go to jail for that for 8 years. You get out, you're only 31. You could then join the service, get out of that, and you're only 35. And you still can do it, so you have time to kill, man. So I just wouldn't be so hard on yourself. I'd take a step back. And sometimes when you're in your problems, you can't see that the reality of things is that things are okay. Sometimes you're just so caught up, like you got to do this and you got to do that. sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, and just realize that that by not doing anything, you're going to be okay. Take care of whatever your basic needs are, and just relax, man. Relax. Especially if you're in college, man. They got, hot leg running around, and you could do, you could experiment and do homosexuality. You could do whatever you want, and whatever it is, you'll be able to, get through it or get past it. Because time will heal everything, man. I promise you that, dude. Time will heal everything. So I'd say look at the reality, bud. I would say just look at the reality of things. In the big scheme of things, it's not going to be that overwhelming. When I think back about college, the only thing I really remember is that I wish I would have had more fun. That I wish I wouldn't have worried so much about this or that, about the tests and about the, what people thought of me. And I just wish I'd had a good time. I wish I had more pictures from college of me having a blast, bro. That's what I wish. So if I had any guidance there or thoughts or suggestions, I would say take it easy, take a step back. If shit feels dark, find a mentor, find a somebody who already graduated and talk to them. Talk to somebody. Don't go it alone. Find you another man and get out there and put your feelings out there. You can't be afraid to put your feelings out there, dude. That boy Thunder's daddy, he used to, when I would miss the school bus, his dad would give me a ride to school. And he would even help me with my spelling words. And he used to smoke Marlboro cigarettes, and he would blow the cigarette smoke at me while I was trying to recite my spelling. And it's hard to, spelling's kind of hard enough. I did well in it, but spelling, when you got smoke coming at you and in your eyes and everything, even harder. When you're trying to spell, just being attacked by secondhand smoke, that's that's some fucking straight up Wyatt Earp. You're the Wyatt Earp of consonants and syllables at that point. So, but I remember sometimes I would share with him what was going on, because even if it was just a few minutes in a car together, that was another man around that I could reach out to for support. So that's what I would say, man. Take it easy. Look at the reality of the situation. Don't get caught in the minutia that's right in front of you. Look at the big picture. Big picture, you're finishing college, man. That's a huge achievement. Big picture is you could fuck up. You could do your bakery and fuck it up and still be fine. You could do law school, medical. You got time, bud. So don't get too overwhelmed. Take your time. Take it easy, man. That's what I would say. What else, man? Let's move on. We'll move on, dude. We got Joey.
Yo, Theo, how you doing, man? This is Joey here from Churches. Got a question for you, man. You said you fell back into the dark depths of the web there, whether it be on your phone or your laptop or what have you. Quick question for you to want to get out of that world and then fall back into it. What kind of categories are you clicking on these websites, sir? What's your favorite genre, if you will? What's your favorite playlist to take yourself to, if you know what I mean? So, just a weird kind of inquiry, I guess. It's just like to know what my fellow man likes to look at when he's liking to look at those kind of things. You stay well, man. It was so fun. You're the shit too, man. My phone's dead, and you took a picture for me. Thank you so much. Safe travels, man, and stay well, brother. Bye-bye.
Nice, man. I believe he came out to the shows in Denver last weekend. I think it's interesting to ask another man what he, what his categories are when it comes to pornography. He's talking about pornography. And I'd mentioned that I'd fallen back into the depths of it, and I've been trying to get out of that. And it's scary, dude. It's scary. If anybody's dealing with that, when you get into a lot of it's habit. And there's a new book by Malcolm Gladwell, I think is the gentleman's name. And it talks about habit and about triggers and about how a lot of your life you get it's reactions to things and then falling into habits, and what creates those habits, and how you have to just adjust a few simple things to create new and better habits. I'm not sure the name of that book. I could look it up, but fucking I'm not gonna right now, dude. You can look it up. But yeah, when it comes to pornography, I mean, you know, I was nervous to talk to women when I was young. Oh, I was so nervous. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I never learned or nobody ever said, hey, go talk to her. My brother was nervous around women as well. And so I think, you know, I didn't have that. I didn't have him guide me, you know. So I was so nervous that instead, pornography, you don't have to have any interaction. You know, you just have to interact really with yourself. And the woman is there just, you know, digitally or in a picture. And so you're not really investing anything. You don't have to put anything on the table. And that can be addictive. And it gets addictive quick, man. And, you know, I started off as, you know, the categories of porn, I mean, that stuff can escalate quickly, you know. I mean, when I was young, it was all on pictures and drawings. People would be drawing cooters and everything in class, and you know, you'd just be thinking your buddy was passing you a note, and it would be a picture of maybe a breast and a cooter, and a lot of them had hair on them back then, and they would draw the hair on them as well, and so at least that's a little bit more, you know, classy, I guess. Whereas now, just the cooters are just open, and it's just, you know, these cooters, some of them just look like they're attacking, and they're just angry, and, or, you know, some of them look happy. I mean, it's just, but now you're so inundated with all of it. You see the depths of these, you know, vaginas and these, you know, birth wallets, if you will. So, but back in the day, you didn't see that. But yeah, it escalated, man. I got on the video pornography. I remember I used to ride my bike across town before video pornography, and I knew a man that had some magazines, and I would go and just use his bathroom. This man I knew, he's an adult, and I would just go use his bathroom and do masturbation, man. I'd bike about 7 miles to go do that. So obviously my addiction to that started pretty early when I think back on it. And then the internet, man, I would cancel dates because I would just masturbate. And I wouldn't want to have any interaction. I'd be afraid. And a lot of it probably came from fear of interacting with women. But yeah, it escalated. And then, you know, you're watching the, you know, 18 and 19-year-olds on there, barely legal. And they got the different sites. And then threesomes. And then now it's gangbangs where the lady's looking like she's, you know, just playing like it's almost like whack-a-mole with all these penises and cocks coming at her. And, you know, some of it seems, it's just deviant at a certain point. And then you got the ones where the ladies, they're doing butt sex and butt activities. And some of them, the ladies' butts are hanging open in the end. And, you know, you can just seem like cold air is getting in their butt. And that's always scary. I'd be worried that these women were getting sick, or I'd picture them, you know, the next day wearing a scarf or something because they got all kinds of, you know, chilly air in the inside of their buttholes. So that stuff just escalates, man. And these days we're desensitized too, even just looking through Instagram. It's like you see a couple of sexy pictures, or, you know, I've had to get off of a couple of text chains because I have friends who, they just drop out some puss into the text chain, or drop out some titties, or some Italian titties. I got a friend who loves, you know, big-titted Italian women, and he's sending those. And I had to tell him, dude, I don't want to be surprised. You got to work hard these days to not be desensitized, man. And I got desensitized early, and I stayed in it, and I was doing good. I had 2 months of not watching it, of pornography. And I fell off last week, you know, and I got lonesome. I was out in Denver, and the altitude, I don't know if that affected the way my blood flow might have been better because I was at those altitudes, and I was doing, I was pleasuring myself to the greeds of the internet. And if you're doing that, I don't know if you're asking me if I do it, Joey, or if you do it, but you gotta fight it. I mean, it is a fucking fight. It's a fight, man. And I know there's like websites that you can go to that you can download stuff on your computer to stop you from even being able to access porn sites. You can go to sex addicts meetings, sex and love addiction, and those are everywhere. And those are like safe meetings where you can go and talk about those things, and it's a real issue because I think it's killing a lot of relationships and marriages, because then you show up with ridiculous expectations. It's like it makes it tough. It makes it tough to know how to treat a woman, and it makes it tough to have any feelings sexually when it comes to an actual human being. So right now I'm just struggling, but I'm focused. I got a few days under my belt, and hopefully I'll be able to keep more, and maybe even by just talking about it, like this, maybe it opens up the fact that people, that I'm discussing it, so it's putting it on my brain. So that's that, man. That's what I got there. Let me drop a few dates on you guys, man. April 6th through 9th, I'm going to be at Tampa Side Splitters. Those dates have changed. It's April 6th through the 9th. April 21st through 23rd, I'm at the Punchline in Sacramento. And June 1st through 4th, I'm at the Pittsburgh Improv. Yeah, I want to apologize. I know tonight's not super funny, maybe. We kind of got into it, talking about this stuff. But I guess some of it's, it's real shit. Man, it's real shit. I mean, if anything, I've, on stage, I love my, I can entertain, but when I'm off stage, man, I am battling to be a decent man, and there's a lot of men out there doing it. I don't know if it's just me or if it's an era that we're in where, we're not growing up properly. But I know that I'm not alone, because, people are calling in and asking. There's a lot of people called in and left questions and comments, and some of them were too long or didn't make any sense. But call in again. Leave another one, if there's something that's still on your mind. See what's going on. Let's keep it moving here. We got another...
Hey, Theo. My name's Hayden. Dude, I've had the worst week probably of my life, which makes me feel shitty because that means that my life hasn't been that hard then. But this girl I was with, we were telling each other some of the things that you only tell people. I told her more about me than I've told anyone in a real short period of time, which might have been stupid, and we were moving quickly. But basically, she went on a cruise for 10 days and came back completely changed, and told me that a month before that she had known the same night she told me she loved me for the first time. She said she knew that same night that she didn't want to be with me as well. And we were moving too fast, but she never told me that. And I just want to know, man, how do people just tell people things without really knowing and lead them on like that and tell them they need to see them and then tell them 10 days later that they can't see him that much. They're tired of seeing him that much. They don't want to worry about what makes me happy. They only want to worry about what makes them happy and be single. And it's tore me up. I haven't talked to her since we broke up 4 days ago. And I just want to know, should I talk to this girl and try to get more answers out of her? Or do people mean what they say?
Wow, man. Sorry, the audio is low on that. That was where it was just a low voicemail. You got a lot going on there, man. I feel for you, dude. I feel for you because it seems like you're putting yourself out there. You let this woman know that you care. She reciprocated those feelings, or she started them and you reciprocated them. I'll say this, so you mentioned that she went on the cruise. Cruises, dangerous, bro. A lot of swingers go on there. A lot of men go there to get rid of their wives. There's past few years, it's been a popular spot to just ditch your spouse, throw them over, or get them drunk and just push them off during a storm, hide them. I think they found some woman who'd been in a ship for like 6 years or something. She was up in in a smokestack or something, some smoked woman, I guess, now smoked. It's, what do you do, dude? You put yourself out there. She told you she loved you. Dude, honestly, man, maybe she told you she loved you for her. Sometimes, and I'll be honest, man, I was in a relationship with a girl for a while and I told her I loved her, but I knew that I didn't. I knew that I just was like fucking millibobbing around in my brain and scared of not having somebody. And so I told her that, and maybe some of it was I didn't know what love, how to figure out love or how to think about it or how to digest it. I just knew that I was afraid to not have somebody think that I loved them. So some of that could be that. Maybe she doesn't know. And, sometimes when we love somebody, we just are doing it for ourselves because we want to see how somebody feels or how somebody behaves when they believe that we love them. I think, I don't know if I'd suggest discussing it with her anymore. It seems like a step back is usually the best move. She went away and came back. I mean, who knows? She could have fallen, she could have met a man who fucking killed his wife on a cruise. She could have met, she could have fallen in love with a staff member. I remember when I was on this cruise one time, they had a girl who broke her teeth out in Shanghai and got impregnated by a mariachi player, a Chinese mariachi player. So you don't know what the fuck is going on these cruises. I mean, it's basically just people floating around and drinking. And anything, can be possible really when people are drinking. But it's scary when you put your feelings out there and they don't get reciprocated, dude. But I commend you, bro. For putting your feelings out there. Nobody wants to do that anymore. Fucking most people don't even have feelings. I worry that younger people don't even have any fucking feelings. I think our feelings are going to be in a museum in a few years. You're going to walk in and be like, oh, look, that's adornment. Or that's not a word, I don't think, adore, but like, oh, that's happiness. Look over there. They've got a whole wall of sheer joy. So I think it's commendable you're expressing your feelings. The specifics of it, I wouldn't get down into it. It just seems like maybe she doesn't care right now. And maybe she never could care. Maybe she's not in the same place as you when it comes to affections. And maybe you got to be okay with that. If that's the reality of the situation, then you need to find a way to fix your pain and deal with your pain. And, whether that's finding somebody new, taking time for yourself, talking to somebody else who's been in love or who's maybe in a marriage now. I mean, excuse me. It's hard to see that she's obviously not the girl for you at this moment. She ain't the girl for you at this moment, bruh. You know what I'm saying? She's out tomcatting on these cruises, bruh. They drinking Mai Tais. You know, people being nasty, people being naughty. Who knows? You know, if, so she's just not the one for you. So you're going to have to just hold on to your feelings. Keep your cards to yourself. You know, if you got to smoke some menthol cigarettes, or you got to, you know, go to a water park or do something to get your mind off of her. And, you know, maybe help somebody else. Find, you know, talk to somebody else. I know the best thing I can do for myself these days when I'm feeling bad is quit feeling for me and start feeling for somebody else. Find somebody else that's having a tough time. Like, you know, find your Thundercat, dude. Get you a little Thundercat out there, you know, and fucking slip in them sliced peaches, you know. Find somebody who's having a tougher time than you. You know, because you're brokenhearted, but maybe there's some dude out there who's never even been on a date. I remember one time I worked on a show out here in Los Angeles, and it was a reality, kind of unscripted show. And it was after that movie had come out, Old School. Remember Old School? Yeah, it was right after Old School had come out. They made a pilot, which was like a one episode of a reality show about 3 comedians that go back to college and start a fraternity. And it was me, Bert Kreischer, and this guy, Brett Ernst. And so we got to get these dudes who were like in their 30s and some in their 40s even, and we started a fraternity for them. And we took them on like this crazy outing, and we stole this goat, and we went ice skating, and we had to do like all this rush week kind of stuff. And one of the guys on there, he was an operator of a ride at Universal Studios. He'd never kissed a woman. This man was 40 years old, and he looked like a lamb, sort of, that it was nearsighted, like a nearsighted lamb. And he had never kissed a woman. And so at the party, we had a big frat party, and we got him a woman and had him slow dancing. And I remember his glasses even fogged up, dude, like they do in the movies. And during that moment, seeing him kiss a woman, I don't remember what was going on with me, because I knew that there was somebody else who'd been through quite a different and more tough journey. Because I'd kissed some girls, even though I felt rejected by a lot of them, and, you know, probably felt and thought that a lot of them hated me. You know, I'd certainly done some lip work with some of these gals. But this man had never. And so this, for him, was a big moment. And watching him do that made me feel some joy, dude. So, yeah, that's what I would say, man. You know, you don't know if she told you she loved you for her. You don't know if she told you she loved you. You just don't know. You know, and words are one thing, man, but actions are another. So follow the actions. You know, and take your own actions right now to show yourself you give a fuck about you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Get your back waxed. I got my back waxed the other day. Shit feels beautiful. A couple of Viettes back there just shining up your skin. You know, put some softener on your skin, dude. Sometimes at night, if I'm not feeling good, I put a little bit of softener on my skin before I go to bed. You know, it's not like having somebody in bed with me, but it's like, make me feel pretty good. Makes me feel pretty good, man. Let's get to one more. We're getting long here.
Hey, what's up, bruh? Got a little ex-girlfriend problem. Broke up. Me and her broke up about 3 years ago after dating for 4 years. And she came back into my life talking about trying to rekindle shit. You know what I mean? I kind of miss it. I kind of like the way we had things, you know, but I don't know if it's a good idea or not to go back to something that was broken up. You know what I mean? Let me know what your thoughts are, bruh. Thanks a lot. Fight the power.
Oh, Fight the Power. That's an old rap reference. There was a song, late 80s, Fight the Power. Public Enemy did that song. You can go look that up. Yeah, bruh. Look, I appreciate you calling and asking. You know, I spoke to an ex-girlfriend of mine. I mentioned her a little bit ago, recently. And I called her on the phone, actually, to apologize for what a shitty boyfriend I'd been. and it got pretty emotional. And part of me, I think somewhere inside of me wanted us to be able to give it another chance. I don't know if that was because I'd been lonesome. I don't know if that was because, I thought there were enough qualities there and enough chemistry there where there could be an opportunity. And she's moved on now. She's, got her a husband or engagement, and that's that. That's her future, and that's all I can do at that point is be happy for her. But one thing I do know is that it needed time. I couldn't have called her a few years ago and done that because I was still holding grudges. I was still angry. So if you're going to get back together with somebody, you got to make sure that whatever broke y'all up before, whatever issues there were, that shit is gone. And you need to make sure it's gone on your side. Like, you need to figure out what inside of you, even if she did something wrong, why were you unable to deal with it? What inside of you last time y'all split up made you okay with breaking up? What inside of you, made you upset enough at her where you were like, okay, good, I'm done with this as well. And if that's not an issue anymore, if those issues aren't there anymore, then I think you can move forward and try it again. But if you're going to rehash old stuff, you got to start at a clean slate, dude. Because if you're going to rehash old stuff, then it's going to bubble out. It's going to be the same type of thing. Whatever happened before, those things are just going to be lying under the blankets, and they're going to pop up after a little bit of sex, And I would hold off on the sex, man, honestly. I'd just be casual about it. And because you guys maybe are in a different place now. You've already got some history. And, just embrace the good history. I mean, at least you got somebody coming back around, man. That's nice, dude. It's better than, it's better than not having somebody. But I would take it easy, man. It sounds like you're taking it easy. I would continue to take it easy. Be casual about it. Don't just dive all the way in, man. It's easy to just try and get up in that, up in that coont and just, get your tongue in there and just be nasty. But you got to take it easy when it comes to the sensuality. You got to build up the groundwork around that first. Whether this is a new relationship or an old relationship. Anyhow, man, it's late here. It's 2:39. I want to thank everybody again for helping out with the album. I want to thank everybody that called and dropped some calls in. I know I got to start doing this earlier, man. I am a little tired again. But I'll try and, I'm just learning as I go. And I appreciate you guys checking out this past weekend. My past weekend was kind of boring a little bit, so I didn't have a lot. It was just a lot of emotions and just not feeling fucking super great. And sometimes, dude, that is my weekend. And this was one of those times. But I appreciate you guys' support. Anything else that I need to share? Nope, I don't think so. I will tell you this. On the way out, we're going to listen to... I got this little keypad now to help me out. Because we've been talking about love, dude. I'm going to check out a little bit of Foreigner. I want to know what love is. you know. Gay guy bit my cousin too. I told you about that, but but we'll see, man. Thank you guys for your support, bro. You guys be good, or be good at it, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.